Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of City Skylines 2. Are you looking to try to build the most realistic looking city within your game? If so, this is the video that you are looking for, so I hope that I can give some tips and tricks, and hopefully some people that see this video can comment down below and give us their tips and tricks as well. If you do enjoy the video, don't forget to go ahead and leave a like, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Now, right off the bat, as you're looking at this sort of piece of the city here, you see the retaining wall that comes through here, you see that it's up on hills. There's some things that look a little off whenever you're looking at it, but if you really step back and take a look at this neighborhood, it's filled in very nicely. There's trees throughout, the houses look good, the intersections are nice. It just feels sort of cozy. And the way that I truly went whenever I was designing this was to give the most space, that way trees could be placed within the neighborhood. So if you take a look at this gridding out here on this section individually, you'll see that there is sort of a type of grid, a square grid that's trying to go on, but it's separated by some curved roads in between. Now, you got the row of houses over here that sort of would have been like the last endpoint where they put a development sort of, where tons of people bought in at the end to finish off this neighborhood on both sides. But this intersection here that's inside of this big square, those were people that might have had houses randomly being built up, and they were buying pieces of land and then sub-selling off. So you want to make a natural design look where things aren't completely square. But if you go ahead and move right across over here, you'll notice that this is a very, very square area that we have within the city. One after another after another. There might be a road here or there that goes through with the alleyways. But whenever I went for this was more trying to be my development area, where it looks like, oh, they took everything out, went ahead and destroyed every single tree within the neighborhood, and they built this right here because this was a piece of land that was left over, where all the trees are pretty much taken out. The roadway just fits right into this little spot, and then it has like two connections, which one's out on the main road, which these two lines come off of, and then one's off the backside to go towards where the quote-unquote original neighborhood would have been. Now, this original neighborhood that sits beside it is more flowing, as Stephen A. Smith would say. It's fluid. So if you take a look here out on this main wall here, you'll see that it isn't completely exposed. There's still some rock and stuff that I left on the outside of it. I was going more for like they had this area but wanted to make it as flat as possible, and this is what they ended up with. But if you take a look, like as the high school sits, the high school's just sitting right in this main sort of section on the main road, but it's tucked right into the neighborhood. So what I did was I placed down this main road, I put down the high school, and then flowed this little road through here, and then we had some other areas where they were built back along the outside of it. So I followed the same sort of trajectory with this road, and then used the smaller road in here to go ahead and place more houses on. But then this was a sort of take at, oh, it's going to be sort of square, but then we have these other little roads that are going between, and then this takes a sort of cul-de-sac appeal, where you have the neighborhood that's accessible by the quote-unquote one entrance, which will be out here on the front side of it, and it's cul-de-sac to the back point. So these people that are back here, they're tucked back into the neighborhood. So unless you're driving through this way, you will never run into these houses. And then it sort of gives the feel of it being planned out to have this neighborhood secluded from other things, but still close enough to the high school and things of the sort. Another great place that I could go ahead and show you is the main city center that we have here. So this is gridded out as well. This was a last additional piece that went into here. So we had the two main roads that were coming through. My big thing was trying to figure out how I was going to fit in a neighborhood So we had the sort of city on the outskirts of it, but then we had the gridding of these roads out here, and it sort of was to the point of, oh, maybe they were going to build the city area, but then decided to go somewhere else, so they developed it off as a small neighborhood with some buildings around it. But if we come over to this section, which is what I wanted to show before, was the center area of the city. So I will give a big zoom out here at the end once I place these things together, but I didn't want to use pretty much any of this land. What I wanted to do was put government buildings on it, so bus station, fire station, this central bank and stuff, or whatever this is here, city hall, the schools on it, and I wanted to make it that we had a base of just the buildings that were government owned, because this was quote unquote city land. So then they had the little bit of the electricity grid that comes in here that's secluded away from everything so people aren't messing with it, and it's back off of this one individual road. So this piece of land that wasn't used, filled in with a ton of trees, just looks natural. And if you come straight off the front of it, this is a natural piece as well, which looks like they were going to do a park, but ended up going ahead and putting some houses around it, and it gives them sort of waterfront property on this Quay Road. But there's trees tucked around it, and these trees that are out here flow in with what's in here. So if we take a real big step back on this section, which I think this is the best section of the map here, you'll notice that the city's down over here. There's a lot of high density in its suburbs around it, with an industrial area down over here near the suburbs, because these people that live over in this area, it's more office spaces and stuff over here that they'll go ahead and work at. And then there's more industrial area over here where there's people that are secluded away from town, most commonly work in these types of areas. If not, there's a few office buildings and stuff placed throughout here for normal neighborhood services. But then down here you'll see that this neighborhood connects into over here, where there's another neighborhood with a big gridding around it. So what I wanted to do was sort of make this a larger park area, but then decided to go ahead and place like the cell tower and the police station and stuff in here. And it sort of got a little cramped to the point that I was like, oh, I'm going to just build small little nookie neighborhoods in here that were sort of like an HOA or something that was developed right outside the outskirts of the city, that could be a gated community that only if you live here, this is the only way that you go into this area. Crime rate's really low, the police station's right outside of it. Wanted to give it that sort of feel. The city's sort of encased inside of this circle with a few outreaching pieces that go around it, but it all ties in so people can get on and off the highway wherever they need to. Neighborhoods are on the outskirts of this city here, with the elementary schools and high schools being placed throughout the area, as well as the suburbs that break off down here. Now notice none of these suburbs that are over here are really core forming with grids. They're more going with the way that the terrain is around them. So with this area, how we have the roads and stuff that curve through, this gets really tight in this area, as this area does as well. And then we got the indent here with the water, the little cove sort of bay area, and these houses swirl around it. And then these go ahead and core form around the mountain that we have here, the little hill. And then we also have this main road that tucks out through both of these areas and sweeps down to go ahead and connect into the other section of town. So it looks a little hectic, but the way that it's laid out is very much to the liking of, hey, this is probably the way that it would be. Everything's sort of fit around each other, and you even have this little roundabout that sits down here, which I never knew what I was going to do with. I was supposed to bring this piece into here as well, but never did, and I sort of just left it as, well, that's the end of the main road that comes through. You're in the neighborhoods and stuff now. So that was my little section there. And then if we break off into some other sections, such as here, we went ahead and gridded out a ton of area for pretty much like people coming through with tourism. So we did a lightly populated sort of island right in the middle of it, with the airport sitting on it. Some of the office spaces right next to the airport for like I don't know, travel agencies or anything like that, bigger places that need to be close to the airport for them to go ahead and have sort of success. We have the harbor down here, some bridges that go through, but I made sure that none of the roads were quote unquote straight in this area as well, because I wanted to make sure that it had sort of a natural feel where things just flowed through and went where they needed to go, and I sort of liked the way that it turned out. We got the highway that goes ahead and encircles this and gets it to the point that you can come on here, get off here, and you got the different exit ramps and stuff, as well as going over to this area as well, where we have the roundabouts and the highway going through to get back over there. So it has its own little feel, and then we did our own little area over here with the neighborhood, some industrial area, sort of a coal mining town that we have on the outskirts of the city areas. So we have the city areas over here with the coal mining town, and then you have like the cargo train port and the industrial areas. But then you also have like the school that's over here, because these people as well are part of cultured society, and normally some of the nicer schools and stuff that are in America sit into the countryside because it's cheaper land for them. This area over here has been a complete disaster. I hate the way that I did everything over here. So if you wanted to take a look at this, you could sort of see that there's some sections, such as in here, where I was really thinking about what was going on. And then there's other sections, such as over here, where it's just a complete mess because of how big that airport is. Don't even know if I want to keep it or if I want to go ahead and grid out something else to where I make it so this is like one big sort of island that's connected together, but it's sort of lost over here. I didn't like the way that this island was done whatsoever, but these four connected together I think are the best ones. We have the industrial island over there as well with the power plant and stuff, but these four are the ones that I like the best, and they're sort of the base for what I would say doing a realistic city would be based off of. So just look at the way that you're laying out your roads, look at the way that you're placing your government buildings, look at the way that you're just setting things in certain places. Like this building that sits down over here, it's an industrialized building and it's right off the industrial sector. So this would possibly be like the largest business that's in this area, and they have that big warehouse and stuff there, but it's right before you cross over. The prison's over in here, that stuff's all together, so it's like the port and everything. So that's like sort of the area that you go to if you're in the industry or in the ports or sort of in sort of that area or sector. But then like you got the highways and stuff that come through here. Just make sure it doesn't look like you just took the gridding feature, gridded it out, and laid it down. You want it to look like it was natural, where roads are coming through. Not everything is straight, but like sometimes there is pieces that like connect together. So like this comes in at an angle, this is square to that. It's sort of the way that it flows through, and this is square to it as well. But you sort of have everything positioned where it feels like it flows together, and they were using land as they were acquiring it, or they were using land to the point where they wanted to fit more things into it, because that's one of the base things, is trying to fit as much as you can without doing a perfect grid. So just watch where you're placing your government buildings, your service buildings. Watch how you're placing your roads, Duke way walls and stuff in certain areas. Make sure you're not bringing everything out to the entire edge of the map. Leave some space for greenery, and you should do well. So I hope this helped you guys out. I hope this gave you a few tips and tricks, and if you watched the whole ways to the end, I appreciate you a ton, and I hope to see you in the next video. I have been Chase the Finish, and I'm out. Peace.